Hello, hello, it's me, Beth the Builder, and I have a brilliant idea. This is a great idea. I'm pumped about it. Just wait and see. I'm building a shoe rack. Okay, so I have all this pallet wood from a big old weird janky cracked pallet that I tore apart, and I kept certain pieces intact so that I could build this shoe rack. So I had this idea when I redid my hallway floor, and then there's a big old vent in there that like you can't really put shoes on or anything because, I mean, it's a vent. So I thought after I redid that floor, I was like, I should build a little shoe rack that would sit like up off the ground, and there's a closet door there, and I was like, that would be a great idea. And my plan is to build two and put one by our front door as well, because we have lots of boots and shoes and like that, because we use both doors for different things. I kept side pieces in place as well as some cross pieces, at least the ones that weren't already cracked and stuff. This was a fairly janky pallet, but I wanted some good chunks of it that were intact. And then I have all these fragments that I'm gonna use to make this shoe rack. I think it's a pretty good idea. I'm pumped about it. I think it should be a really cool project. I am pretty pleased with this idea. I had a shoe rack in mind, and then I went through my project folder of stuff I've saved where I was like, that looks cool, I like that, or I'd like to try that thing. And I saw a shoe rack made from a pallet, and I was like, that's what I wanna do. Okay, so this is kind of how it's gonna look. I'm gonna have two rungs here, 1, 2. This one's already in place as a cross piece between these two side pieces. I have a bottom that I'm also gonna use 2 chunks, again, because all this pallet was pretty broken. It's difficult to get a pallet apart without breaking a lot of the pieces, so I only have a few full length cross pieces, which is fine. So I'm opting to try and avoid these 2x4s that were the side pieces for this pallet and then the middle cross piece. Because they're really heavy and I don't have any great brackets for hanging this, and this is a hanging shoe rack. So I'm gonna try and use all these skinnier boards and make it work. So I want 2 rungs, and I'm gonna chop these off because they're a little bit tall for what this needs to be. So it's only gonna be about maybe like 10-12 inches tall, and then the wall would be here, and then you could slot shoes in on the front. So I'm going to use wood glue and then probably just some simple screws. So let's do it. Okay, so I have my second rungs in place here. So glued those, screwed those in place, and then this is where, yeah, having a broken pallet's not ideal, but we're working with it. So I put this piece in the middle to butt these 2 up against, and then I'm gonna put a brace on the back, and that should do it as a second rung, because all this is doing is holding shoes. And then the wall is gonna be back here, and then I'm gonna put a bottom on, and then I'm going to cut these off so they're not so tall. Because if you think about shoes, like how tall is a shoe when you... Here, I'll take my shoe off. Here, you know, if you put a shoe in there, like most shoes are only like 8 or 9 inches. And this one's, you know, this is a boot, so it's particularly large. So I'm gonna let this set while I work on my other one, and then I'll trim these side pieces down and we'll do a bottom on this. So let's do that. Okay, so I have one all done. I just need to sand it. And I was about to trim these posts when I had an idea. I thought, why don't I use some of these other boards that are, yeah, they're heavy, but I have an idea, to make one that has like 2 shelves for shoes. How about that? So I already cut this to sit inside here pretty perfectly, if I do say so myself. Look, it even just like sits there. That's some like precision cutting, you know? But this is from another pallet, and it's a cool piece of wood. I like how it looks. And it's not quite as thick as this guy, but I'm gonna use this as a back, and then also as a way to hang it, because I don't have any good brackets, and I think then I can use this board and screw it into some studs. So this will be a back, this will be a second shelf, and then I think I'll put just one thing, what am I trying to say? One cross piece on the front so shoes don't fall out. So then I have two shelves. I have to trim this because, you know, I'm joining shorter boards to make longer ones. This won't be this low. I'm thinking to bring it up a little bit. If I can get it out of here. I'm thinking like here. Like up here. Or so. So, yeah, I was about to trim these and then I was like, hold on, I'm having a thought. So I think I'm gonna do that, and then I'll have one with 2 shelves. Oh God. And then one with just one. So I feel like that's a pretty neat idea. So, yeah, I'm gonna try and finish these up and get them all sanded and stained so then I can hang them pretty quick here. So let's keep going. Alrighty, so both my shelves are all sanded and stained and like ready to go and be hung up. I'm very, very happy with how they turned out. This is my smaller one, which I'm gonna hang by our front door. This is our porch. And I've already found where my studs are at, which is a lot easier in here because this has drywall versus like everywhere else on my main floor has lath and plaster, which is just a little bit trickier to find where the studs are at. What's going on with that? So I looked up some tips and tricks of how to find studs in lath and plaster walls. I've done it before, it's just been a little while and it's always a little bit of a thing. But I'm pretty confident, should be okay. These don't weigh, my bigger one, it's not like it weighs 100 pounds or something, so it should be that big of a deal. And that's the heaviest thing that's gonna even be in it. Like shoes aren't heavy. So I'm gonna drill some pilot holes and then we're gonna get this guy hung up. I'll show you where the other one's gonna go. And we're all done. I'm really, really happy with how these turned out. I love my double shelved guy. My other one, I love that. I'm really glad that I thought of that, and I think it'll be really cool. So yeah, I'm gonna get to hanging these guys up. So I have my second one all hung and you can see there's 2 shelves, which is so handy, right? So this was the initial place that I wanted a shoe rack thingy up on the wall because there's this grate here and we have our coat rack right here. So the natural place you want to put your shoes when you take your coat off is right below where your coat is. So I really wanted one here, and it's not ideal to put stuff on this grate because, well, it's a grate. It's not ideal. So this was, once I finished the floor in here, I was like, I'd really like a place to put shoes. We have this closet, but I hate this closet. It's stupid. It's narrow and skinny and there's shelves in it and it's just the worst to get in and out of. And yeah, like here and our porch are like the 2 places that you kind of like want to have shoes. So yeah, finding studs in plaster walls is a whole thing. I have two kinds of stud finders. I have one that's like battery operated and it finds, like you roll a dial and it finds the density of the wall, and then you go back and forth and it finds the edges of studs. And I also have a super crazy strong magnetic stud finder. And that one doesn't work, seemingly doesn't work at all for plaster walls. Even though that was like a trick that I'd read for finding studs in plaster walls, it was like, use a magnet. Like, I feel like that doesn't work. And my density dial stud finder seemingly was finding studs somewhere, but I don't know. But I know there's one over here, and I was pretty confident there was one over here, but I am not confident anymore. So finding studs in drywall is 10 times easier. That was way simpler in my porch, and this one was just a little bit trickier, but it seems secure. It's not coming off the wall anytime soon, and the actual frame of this is the heaviest part. So get yourself a stud finder. I would go with the density dial one, but the magnetic one for if you just have drywall is really, really handy, and it's really cool. Like it'll like over to where the stud is. But plaster walls just kind of pose different obstacles in hanging stuff. But yeah, get a stud finder, and I'm loosey-goosey about finding studs, even when we had lived somewhere that we had all drywall, because some things are light enough that like it's just not that big of a deal. Okay, but with something heavy, you do want to be aware of it. You don't want shit to fall off your wall. Don't guess when it comes to hanging heavy stuff. I really like how they both turned out. I used all pallet wood, so it was all free. And then I used big old 3-inch screws to sink everything into the wall, and it seems pretty sturdy. I'm pretty happy. This is like better than what I imagined. This even fits big old chunky boots, right? It's so great. So some housekeeping stuff. You can find me also on Odyssey if you know anything about that, but I'll put a link in the description below. So all of my videos have been ported over to Odyssey, and it's a really nice thing if you're looking for an alternative to YouTube. You know, I know various content creators that have been just banned from YouTube for, in my opinion, shitty stuff. Not on their part, on the tube's part. But you can find all my stuff over there if you want to do that. I'll put a link below. Again, you can check out my Etsy. You can support me that way. Otherwise, like this, share this, keep watching, subscribe if you haven't yet, because that's, you know, thank you. I like that. It's really helpful to me. But otherwise, you know, I hope you like my shoe rack. I'm pretty happy with it. It's so useful. And thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next week with a new video.